you to have the correct judgment regarding such an egregious occurrence, well, the American taxpayers don't want to pay for that. I yield.
I thank the gentleman. We now go to the ranking member for his 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bennett, I want to pick up where we just left off here, because there's just some facts, and then there are things that are not facts. I'd like to give you a minute or two to actually explain the facts about how your organization has treated the reporting on Hamas and its designation as a terrorist organization.
Yes, thank you. And yes, we do not shy away from using the word terrorist in conjunction with Hamas or any other terrorist designated organization. We have found that the examples of many, well over 1,000 examples in which we've used that exactly as you describe in appropriate manners. There are best practices guides that talk about how careful you have to be in using the word terrorist, because you don't want to apply it indiscriminately. And the thing that originally started this discussion was mistakenly described as a policy, when in fact it was an email sent around to staff by a person who was expressing her opinion, as I think we're all entitled to do. It did not represent the policy. The policy is, as I've stated, which is that we are careful with the use of the word terrorist, but we did not shy away from using it in conjunction with Hamas or any other terrorist group.
And just to clarify, you're careful with that use of that word because it's a serious word. You take it seriously. You're careful generally.
We're careful generally in using the word generally, and that applies to Hamas or any other terrorist organization.
And you've never shied away from using it with regard to Hamas as a matter of policy.
We have never, and we can provide examples of it to anyone who requests and have done in the past.
And to clarify, your use of AI wasn't actually to determine whether or not to use it, was actually to do the extra due diligence and to make sure across your entire enterprise that you were looking at all instances. So you actually were going kind of above and beyond by doing a scrub using AI. Is that accurate?
That's correct. For the very first time, to do a scrub in all the languages that are used inside USAGM to look and make sure that we were using appropriately, as everyone rightfully demands us to do.
Okay, thank you. I want to touch on the issue of budgeting and resources. I mean, you outlined in the beginning the incredible case as to the powerful tool. And Mr. Kappas, you said it so eloquently when you indicated that the response from our adversaries actually indicates how effective you really are. I mean, they come at you and your journalists and reporters very hard because you pose a threat. And you pose a threat because you're good and you're credible and you're an important tool. So if we were going to cut your budgets, as the majority proposes to do, what would that look like in your organizations? What would be those hard decisions, those things you wouldn't be able to do for us? We can start anywhere we want to start.
Well,
I would say it would have a devastating impact on the work that we're doing, and I mentioned some of that in my opening statement. The work right now is vital. We are, without a doubt, targeted by Russia, by Belarus, by Iran, by China, you name it. And if we leave the playing field, if you will, if we leave that space to those countries and their propaganda and attempts to sway public opinion, we're giving them that terrain to themselves. We're busy in all of these areas. The degree of threat that our people face cannot be understated. Right now, we have to devote significant resources to advocate for our people, legal resources to try to get them out from behind bars, and I don't want to leave anybody behind. That's the other thing that goes along with the mission of these organizations right now, is to take care of our people.
Thank you. Any other thoughts on that, Mr. Abramowitz?
I would just say that on the issues that this committee cares about, that we care about, coverage of Iran or Russia, it would be quite devastating to have the kind of cuts that I've seen bandied about. What's interesting to me, just in the first few weeks of being at VOA, is that I see that when big news stories happen, like the debate I mentioned, but also 2 years ago during the Women's Lives Freedom protests in Iran, during the recent terrorist attacks inside Russia, that we have a large reach in those countries, and the people of those countries come to VOA because it's the only source of information to kind of counter the false information that is coming from the government. And so that's what the concern would be, that we would steadily lose that ability to push back against that false information.
Yep, thank you. I yield back.
Thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Burchett.